In November of last year, me and some of my friends came together to make a video titled The State of Geometry Dash, in which we outlined what we thought were the major problems with the game and its developer. This wasn't the first time RobTop had received criticism, of course, but no matter how many times the community addresses an issue, it never seems to get resolved. Now, I'm a firm believer in the potential of Geometry Dash, and I think if handled properly, this game could thrive for years. This is why it's so frustrating for me to see RobTop let his game peter out and die due to sheer neglect. I think most people can agree that RobTop should approach the situation much differently than what he's currently doing, and today I want to explore exactly what I would do if I were in his position. First, let's just get the elephant out of the room. Of course, RobTop should handle the way he communicates with the player base a lot better. First of all, RobTop, please cut out the middleman. Nobody wants to hear from Viprin about what you're doing. You know, it gives a lot more weight to your words if you actually say them yourself instead of relaying them to someone else. Secondly, you have a YouTube channel with over 4 million subscribers and a Twitter account with 800,000 followers. Please fucking use them. Right now they're a massive waste of potential. For starters, you could use your Twitter account to keep the community up to date on progress on the new update instead of using other people's Twitch chats or the fucking in-game level comments, which, by the way, is a worse commenting system than the YouTube comments, which is quite the achievement. If there's one thing people absolutely hate, it's being ignored. I know all about this as my parents' least favorite son. It leads to resentment at first and apathy later, which is the last thing you want for your game. Anyway, this point has been beaten to death by countless people already, but this is just scratching the surface. Do you even realize the potential RobTop could achieve with his massive social media accounts? He could do opinion polls, Q&As, promote people in the community, publicly endorse the demons list, share levels he likes. Remember when RobTop uploaded a video of him beating Clubstep V2 by Neptune? Do you know how cool it would be if he still did stuff like that? But no, instead we get a cheap hand-me-down by the name of Viprin, who pretends to know what good coin placement is. Fan interaction is crucial to maintain interest in the game and to generate hype for new updates. The Icon and Gauntlet contests were a great idea for this, but there were several problems with them that kind of neutered the effect. Now, I'd argue that the biggest issue wasn't the weird and seemingly arbitrary rules, but the fact that RobTop was kind of a background figure to the whole thing. RobTop himself never took center stage and was only passively mentioned as being one of the jurors. What would really help remedy this issue is if he, actually uploaded the videos to his own channel. It hardly seems like you're officially endorsing these contests if you don't even upload them to your own channel. Instead, it feels like you were just convinced to go along with it. In addition to creator contests, I think it would be interesting to try a player tournament. Host a live stream event where people race each other to beat levels. Kind of like Ramo's Twitter tournament, but instead of being a popularity contest, it's actually based on skill and merit. And what refresh rate your monitor has. Instead of all this cool shit, the only thing we get is a little update tweet whenever the servers are down. And I suspect the only reason he posts this on Twitter is because he can't put it in the level comments. Fan interaction is immensely important if you want to keep the trust of your audience. It's a common problem that I've seen in several different communities. Developers putting little to no effort into maintaining communications with their player base, and the player base slowly growing more and more disinterested as a result. Proper communication is valued very highly, even if you're bringing bad news. It shows respect and consideration towards the fans, and they will feel appreciated and will be a lot more understanding. So yeah, that's a lot of things I would change about the promotion of the game and community interaction. But what about the game itself? Well, one controversial aspect of the game is the level rating system that's currently in place. And I have a couple of ideas that I haven't seen a lot of people talk about. Alright, so generally speaking, people like being rewarded for their efforts, right? Otherwise they might throw a hissy fit. Well, right now, creators don't get rewarded for creating levels unless they're really good. And players don't get rewarded for playing levels that aren't very well known and didn't get rated. And I think there's a simple solution to this. Just rate more levels. A simple star rate offers little reward to the creator. After all, star rated levels aren't promoted anywhere in the game, but it does give them one creator point at least. In addition to that, players now have an incentive to go out and play more unknown levels, since they'll actually be able to get stars from it. I think a star rate shouldn't be treated as a seal of quality like it is now, because its functionality doesn't reflect that at all. If it was, star rated level would be promoted in the game somewhere like featured levels are. A star rate is merely an acknowledgement of the level's existence, and nothing more. And I'd like to see it treated that way. Now, if we're going to hand out star ratings more often, there should be a better system in place for that, otherwise it would be very time consuming. Now, there's about 60 mods in the game right now, but none of them have the ability to rate levels except for RobTop himself. Now, I'm not here to regurgitate the point that Elder mods should be able to rate levels as well, because RobTop clearly doesn't want that, otherwise he would have implemented it already. But I do have another idea that addresses this issue a bit more elegantly. I think what would be really nice is if a level could get rated automatically if it was sent by, let's say, 10 mods for example. That way, levels would be rated independently of RobTop, which would provide us with a more consistent stream of levels, and it would also help to alleviate some of Rob's bias. RobTop could take a look at these levels later himself and then decide if they should also get featured. This way, RobTop still has the final say about what levels show up on the featured page and the Hall of Fame, while also rewarding a wider variety of creators, at least a little bit, for their efforts. What I definitely wouldn't do is add another rating to the game that just adds more confusion and doesn't help to solve any problems. Featured and epic are already largely indistinguishable, so what's adding legendary to that mix going to solve? Instead of that, why don't you make the distinction between featured and epic more clear and meaningful? This is so pointless. Anyway. So yeah, those are some ideas that I haven't heard people talk about too much. I could of course regurgitate all of the points we made in the State of Geometry Dash, but that would be pretty redundant. Instead I'll just leave a link to it in case you haven't seen it yet. You'll have to excuse Water and Dustin for being completely incomprehensible though. Wait, I do have one more idea for RobTop. This may be a little controversial, but how about you release the fucking update already?